Big John here. I've got the VZ58, which is the hipster brother of the AK. And I'm going to take a few shots with it first. Alright, bring the stock out. Now that we know it shoots dirt. Shoots a little high right, maybe. All right. There's a propane tank over there. Maybe if you want to zoom a little on the propane tank, let's see if it gets some sparks flying there.
All right here.
Yeah, right there. Oh, 2 shots left. Well, there's one thing right there you can notice it's a little different about the AK if you're not familiar with these things. The bolt actually stays back on the last round, so that's different for sure. And it's kind of interesting. It shows you a difference in philosophy of when the Czechs came out with this thing as kind of their improvement over the AK, which some would agree or disagree that they were successful. Because that's almost the philosophy of the AK is just basically you shoot it until it stops shooting, and then you put more ammo in it, basically. With this thing, it gives you a little bit more options, so you actually know when you're out. Because that's one of the things that always seems like it would be a pretty big disadvantage of the AK is that you never know if you have 1 round left or no rounds left, or how many you have left, unless you check it. So I can see that definitely being an advantage. But back to what I was saying about this thing being kind of the hipster brother of the AK, for especially this specific gun, because it's a VZ 2008, so it's basically a repurposed VZ58 because of the incredibly sensible importation laws that save many lives daily. We are not allowed to have a gun that has too many foreign parts because it's very important to discriminate against gun parts. American is all that we'll do. So we basically have mostly a VZ58, except it has an American-made barrel, as far as I understand. Don't quote me, I'm not a textbook, but I'm pretty sure it's an American-made barrel. And some of the other parts that they had to change, of course, for the compliance and all that kind of stuff. So it's basically, in a nutshell, it's kind of a repurposed Z58. It's not full auto, of course, which would be awesome. And then another thing about it too, which kind of makes it like the hipster brother, is look at the wood on this thing, if you can even call it that. Basically, it's like this particle board resin stuff that they cooked up in a lab somewhere and molded into the furniture on the gun. And there's almost something ugly and crappy about it, but then kind of like beautiful at the same time. It's really unusual and strange, but interesting, and it really kind of captures the time period that this thing came out in the 50s. Hence the name VZ58. Another thing that's kind of cool too is of course really this is a non-issue anymore because now that there's polymer AK magazines, but the magazines are really light. They're made out of some kind of alloy. I forget what it is, but it's basically really light. It's not steel like kind of your classic AK magazine. But again, you can get polymer magazines, so that's not a big advantage now. But at the time, that would have been something that you really noticed. I mean, these things, they weigh nothing, it seems like. And I've also noticed that they seem to click in a lot more positively. I don't know what it is, but it feels more, maybe because of this plate around here. It seems to just fit a little better. Not as much wobble as kind of your standard junky AK magazines. I know some of the more finer tuned AKs and good magazines, you don't have that, but it's kind of your typical AK, a lot of wobble, and it just seems real sloppy and messy, which is part of the reliability. But that's one thing that's kind of cool about these. It really, the mag really feels like it just goes in very positively for a gun like this. But I'd say definitely one of the disadvantages of this thing is you don't have as big of a mag release. It's pretty small, so you can't do the old, you know, tactical thing of knocking the mag out and all that kind of stuff. But I think you can get aftermarket mag releases for them. But one of the most obvious differences, other than, of course, the fact that the bolt actually stays back on the last round, and you can lock it back if you want to. There's like a little pin right there that you push up, stops it right there. That's kind of awesome. Anyone who's tried to use a bore snake with an AK that doesn't have one of those little, you know, tricky levers where you can lock it back, it knows that that's an advantage. But the most obvious thing is just the fact that all that is open up there. Totally open receiver, which it's almost like it reminds me of the Beretta 92, sort of the same kind of philosophy. And I'm sure their thinking was that it would make the gun more reliable. And is it? I don't know. The AK is famous for its reliability. You don't hear about this as much. Maybe it's as reliable. I don't know that it's necessarily anymore, but that's definitely interesting. And it seems like maybe the gun would run a little cooler, maybe, but don't quote me on that. That's just a guess. Maybe a little easier to clean. But that's one of the most noticeable differences of these things versus the AK. When you just look at the profile of it from a distance, basically it looks like an AK. But you pull that back, pull that bolt back, it's totally different. But maybe shoot it again. Oh yeah. Also, I have this little handy dandy bayonet, which is extremely just razor sharp. It's funny. It's like worse than a butter knife, which I don't know if they dulled these things when they shipped them out or if this is how they were designed initially. But I mean, I guess this point is somewhat sharp enough to zap something. But it's kind of cool. Oh yeah, it even matches. Not bad. But this probably make a good throwing knife. All right, shoot it again. Again, see, I was wanting to knock that off. You can't really do that. I mean, I was sitting and playing with this thing for a long time actually one day, trying to figure out there's a trick where you could maybe still do it, and not really fast. I mean, you could kind of, it sort of works, but it's not really anything you could do very fast probably. Another thing too, I don't know if it's the fact that these things are striker fired, unlike the AK, or the fact that it's the mil-spec trigger, what it is. But I find that I can't shoot these as fast. I can't get quick follow-up shots with these things. I'm not sure why. Best I can do with these. I can't see where they're going over there now. Try the other plate. And that brings me to another point too that I will use as an excuse right now. Is this collapsible stock, folding stock. Definitely not ideal for any type of aim shooting. It's pretty unstable. You know, it has a lot of wobble to it. I don't know if that's just a characteristic of these guns or if that's just this one specifically. The guy I got it from had wrapped paracord on here, which makes it a little, like ever so slightly more comfortable for your face, but it knocks the crap out of you. Pretty good. So that's not really not that. It's less than ideal. I'll put it that way. But I have to admit, on the flip side, it looks pretty awesome. It really does. I mean, it's a cool looking little gun. I can just imagine this thing as being a great truck gun. If you felt like you needed something like this in your truck, it's just because they're so cheap, you can find these things for like $350, $400. I mean, they just about give these things away, and it'd be great for that. Great little truck gun. Also, the safety on these things, I actually prefer over the AK. It's just a lot more intuitive, a lot easier to get to. I just really like that a lot better. All right, finish this out. Oh, just had 2 rounds. But really, in a nutshell, though, I mean, you can't hardly go wrong with one of these if you're just looking for one just to play around with, or to go hiking through the woods or rough up or whatever you want to do. I mean, they're pretty solid little guns. I think the barrels aren't chrome lined in these imported versions, these VZ 2008 ones. So I don't know if you get as much barrel life out of these things, but it's a great little rough gun. And then as far as the as far as it being better than the AK, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, the AK, it's much more familiar. We're not probably as likely to be familiar with one of these things, but I would say that if you got one of these in a more modern configuration, and they are out there, I believe I've seen some online. They're like $1,000 and stuff like that, where they've got nice furniture and really well made and all that kind of stuff, chrome lined barrels, the works. You might actually find that it's better than the AK, especially if you had this mag release lengthened a little bit. You might like it more. I don't know, but the fact that it takes different magazines, and it's different, and the AK is just one. It's like the AR. It's just one of those common guns that everybody has. I mean, it might be better, but really there's an advantage to sticking with something that's kind of the norm. Really, with guns, it pays to be a conformist to some extent, because if it's something that a lot of people have, there's going to be lots of parts for it. There's going to be lots of information out there about it. Lots of people are going to be familiar with it, and you're likely to maybe run across one in some type of everything is screwed up scenario. There's a lot of advantages to having something, if it's good and well made, that a lot of people have. So yeah, but the VZ58 though, pretty neat little gun, and I enjoyed bringing it out here and showing it to you guys. You'll probably see some more of it if I don't trade it for something I like better. You guys have a good one.